Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Excellent. Today is, say it with me, Friday. Woohoo! Weekend. Friday. How are you all doing? So, if you're on video, you'll see that I'm out in the grape arbor in the secret garden. However, this may be the last one. We're to get snow on Monday. So the plantain will come in this weekend, probably on Sunday. And tomorrow I'm off to visit friends. I'm going gallivanting and seeing a number of different friends and doing a little bit of shopping. So that should be fun. um, yeah. So weather is to be turning, but feels like it's time, right? It's time. I got my COVID booster yesterday, my bivalent booster and flu shot. COVID booster, flu shot. COVID booster arm. It's much more sore. Hurt less going in. Hurts more now. Uh, but otherwise, not. I felt a little woozy yesterday afternoon. I took it easy. I was kind of headachy and tired, but not too much effect this time. I feel fairly perky today. I did not get writing done yesterday. So now I really have to get going. Gotta finish this fucking novella, you all. Uh, yeah. So, I did not hear feedback from any of you on the tentative title for the novella, The Long Night of the Radiant Star. Either that means you don't like it, or it was that I got it posted so late yesterday that the usual commenters didn't get to listen yet, which is entirely possible. I didn't get posted till after I came back. So, yeah, I will talk about the thing I've been promising to talk about. I'm not going to waffle any longer. I promised for probably a couple weeks now to be talking about what makes a series successful. So this harkens back to the whole thing about the series Death Spiral, so called, put that in air quotes, series Death Spiral, where people talk about that your the next book in a series sells fewer copies than the first book. And I'm sorry, but this is true. This is just going to be true. In fact, dang, I love being vindicated. Okay, so I looked up Twilight on Amazon, the book, which is undeniably a blockbuster, right? Actually, does not have as many rankings as I thought it would, but that's because it came out in 2007, and that was before Amazon was really getting people to rank and review. But anyway, it's got 22,000 reviews, 22,243. We'll just call it 22,000. The sequel, New Moon, has 12,415. So actually, let's do the math. All right. So that means that book two sold 56% as many books as book one. Now, faithful listeners who have been waiting for me to talk about this for a couple of weeks, thank you, and I apologize. What did I tell you? I said 50%. That you get 50, if you're selling half as many, 50% as many of book two as of book one, that's standard. And I swear, I promise, you, I paused you. I could have done it real time, but I paused you and I looked up Twilight because I thought, well, let's just pick a blockbuster. I think if we picked any book at all, we're going to see that. 80% is fantastic, 50% is standard, 50% to 80% is your range. Now, if your book two sells less than 50% of book one, you have a problem. That means that something happened. So, actually, let me look at one thing. So, I think that if you look at Twilight, going from book one to book two, 50%, 56% drop off. This is because, and I'm reiterating a bit for those who may not have heard the lead up for this before, but this is because people will read the first book and they will decide it is not their catnip. It is not their cup of tea. It is not something that they want to keep going with. And that's the breaks. That's it's human nature, it's life, it's how it works. I would be very interested to know if you all can find a book too, where I just looked up another one um, that did quite well on a much smaller scale than Twilight, as almost everything is. 54% drop off, or 54% as many ratings on book two as on book one. Now, ratings is not the be all and end all of those numbers, but it gives us an indicator, right? So, this so called series death spiral is not a thing. It's, or it is, but uh, it's a natural phenomenon. It's just what's going to happen. And I know a lot of authors want to convince themselves, or they seem to be already convinced, that if they write standalones, that this won't happen. Well, I don't know. It could very well be that if you only write standalones, that you are going to get a series. A lot of people will read the first book of yours that they pick up, and then only half will go on to read another book of yours. That would be my guess. My We could do a scientific study on it if somebody has the bandwidth for that. It would be interesting to know. So, um, so the idea that you should not write series because of this, because and this is coming from traditional publishing, because the authors are then concerned that they will not get as good of an advance on the next book. They won't get as much of a marketing push. I mean, yeah, that can happen. But is that a reason not to write a series? I don't think so. But then I love to write series. If authors who don't want to write a series don't feel like you have to, right? That's our theme of the week. Don't do things that you don't want to do just because you think you're supposed to, right? So, what makes a series work? A lot of the self-publishing people rely on cliffhangers, and I think that there's something to be said for the cliffhanger. Longtime listeners will know that I do have a particular rant on what is and is not a cliffhanger. An open ended ending is not a cliffhanger. Having some aspect of the story unresolved is not a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger comes from, I guess I'm defining it anyway, from melodrama, when a protagonist would be left literally hanging off of a cliff by their fingernails at the end, and you didn't know if they were going to live or die. That is a cliffhanger. Readers use cliffhangers, the term, pretty widely to mean anything that they feel like didn't completely satisfy them about the ending sometimes. Some authors deliberately use cliffhangers. Uh, I don't think that you have to, but what you do want is, there are a few things. You want the reader, when they finish the story, to be able to want to continue in that world. When they finish, that they go, and now we have the blessed one click where they're like, oh my God, I want to do the next thing. So there's a number of things that do this. The cliffhanger is, I'm picking my words. I want to say a cheap substitute. It's it's a way of, it's almost like a trick, right? It's and I've read a couple of those. One gal who teaches using cliffhangers, I read one of her books, and it did literally end in an actual, and she said, use the cliffiest of cliffhangers. She said the readers will write to you and complain, and then buy the next book. And hers was, I mean, it was like she left her hero and heroine in dire peril, and the book ended. So that's a trick to get people to go to the next book. The problem is, and I feel like this is something I've ended up talking about a whole lot lately, is the long game. Eventually readers are going to get tired of you pulling that shit. They're going to know, if I start a book by this author, I'm not starting one book, I'm starting 9, because she's going to end each one with this cliffhanger where I'll feel compelled to keep going just to find out what happens. So, in worst case scenario, what can happen here is that a reader will click to read the cliffhanger, um, find out if they live or die, or find out the secret, and then now they've got the whole book to go through. And are they really happy about that? Having the reader feel that glow of happiness at reading is really important, and that's what builds you the long-term audience. That what builds you the platform. So when readers talk about book hangovers, which is a term I love, and I believe that all of us have experienced that as readers, when you finish reading a book and you're sad because you no longer have the high, you no longer have that giddy feel of being in that world with those characters. If the author is doing her job correctly, that comes from author voice. And the reader can theoretically go on to any other book by that author and regain that same feeling of being in that world, in that voice, in that particular kind of magic that that author does. Got the bush tits coming through. The birds are very busy right now. So, um, it's one of those things where this is like not the easy answer. I always feel like maybe I should make this podcast be about the like 1, 2, 3 ways to do this thing. Right? The cliffiest of cliffhangers. It's much easier to explain. How do you develop your voice? Is not easy to explain. The best explanation I've ever heard of it, which actually came from Susan Elizabeth Phillips and Jane Ann Krentz, that they said when they did their besties tag team, uh, which is an amazing thing to listen to if you ever get a chance, that your voice comes from your beliefs, from your way of seeing the world. So, this is something that you continue to distill and refine over time, allowing your voice to come through in the story. And then you find readers who like that. And not all readers are going to love your voice, which is why, right? 50 to 80% you can sell through on the next book. If you are not getting that 50% at least, then it's entirely possible that your voice is not working, that it is not clear enough for the reader to feel like, I want to linger in this world. I want to linger with this author. If you think about your favorite authors, you probably get a particular feeling about them. Uh, you get, and it's probably wordless. You might be able to put some words to it, but in general, it's how you feel reading that book that gives you that feeling of pleasure, right? Which is why we are pleasure readers and not necessarily uh, compelled to read the things that we're supposed to read, like lit fic. Not that there's anything wrong with lit fic, but a, a total aside, I'm looking at my 2 hanging plants, which I planted at the same time with the same plants from the same nursery. And it's really a tale of 2 plants. One of them is long and cascading all the way to the ground, and the other one is very, very short. And it's totally where they are, sun or shade. I just find that fascinating. We know these things are real, but it's cool to see it demonstrated. They're looking a little scraggly. I don't know if I'll take a photo or not. I'm tempted. We'll see. Anyway, so voice. Voice is part of what will keep a reader going. You want them to want to stay in the story. Um, and is that easy to develop? Probably not. It's not a one, two, three. Uh, but I mean, why else are you writing, right? Refine your voice, get that there. Now, I have heard authors say things like, "Oh, this book was really successful, and then X thing happened to screw it up." Like I didn't have a newsletter, I didn't retain those readers. Uh, the publisher didn't market it correctly. The publisher took 2 years to come out with the book. So one thing, and I know that I use Grace Draven as an example a lot, but she's a good example because she does not have a newsletter, but also she has a very, very loyal audience that waits for the next book. So she's a slow writer and she takes a long time to come out with the next book in her series, but they patiently wait because they love her books and they want to read them. So they watch her social media and they stalk her and they wait for those books to come out. And her book Raven Unveiled is coming out next month, which she's supposed to send to me and has not yet. So I'm impatiently waiting for that. Uh, Grace, darling. She keeps saying, "Oh, I will. I forgot." So anyway, uh, if your readers love you, they will wait. Most of the time, when I've heard an author complain about that they lost readers from one book to another, it's not because of any of these things that they would like to blame. It's because of the book. So there's a famous example of an author who is a very, very successful author who did an experiment um, to see if piracy was affecting her sales and decided that yes, it was really a major problem because her sales had dropped off so much from like book two to book three. And she thought it was because everybody had pirated it instead of buying it. It's one reason why it's useful to look at ratings instead of actual sales. And I haven't been reading this author, but somebody told me we were talking about this and they said, well, the thing is book two sucked. Book two wasn't any good for a number of reasons. And what happens is you're going to see the sales for book two, right? You're going to see book two do just fine because everybody's bought it. They can't wait to read it after reading book one. But then if they're disappointed in book two, you're going to see the impact on book three because they're not going to go on to read book three. So this takes a fair amount of honesty with yourself to look at what exactly are you doing. And it comes back to some of these, like making artistic choices. You know, there's an author who wrote a book that I loved, 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 and really wanted her to write a sequel to. And she finally wrote a sequel to it. And she didn't have any of the characters from the first book in the sequel. She like switched to like another part of this world and different characters. And I didn't read it because I was like, no, no, no. I wanted to follow my friends. I wanted to follow these people. If you don't want to write a book about the same people again, then that's your call. But don't blame marketing. Don't blame the publisher. Don't blame your newsletter. Take a good hard look at what happened in that book that maybe upset people. And, you know, readers sometimes get upset about things that we have to decide we don't care about, right? That we have to decide, oh, well, we're going to do it this way anyway. But be aware that it may impact the sales. So, those are thoughts on series. I may have more thoughts. Uh, Probably like teach a whole workshop on this, right? But anyway, yeah. So, I am going to sign off, maybe see if I can get some writing done today. And I will talk to you all on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and you all take care. Bye. Bye bye.